You're listening to Conversations That Matter with your host, Terry Conrad.
Welcome, Kelley Skar. This is Conversations That Matter, and the reason that we're hosting Conversations That Matter is because we want to dig a little deeper into people who are living on purpose and share some of our experiences, some of our challenges, get to know the person a little bit better, and this is conversations in life and in business. So I want to welcome Kelley. Thank you so much for being here. Kelley Skar, who is a very dear friend of mine. We've known each other 4 years. And I think the way we met was when you came down. We had been following each other online for quite a while. And you came down to hear me speak. I think it was literally my very first time on stage in Bellevue. Mm-hmm. Down in Washington, and there's this crazy kid from Calgary that followed me down to hear me speak in Seattle at Agent Reboot. What a hoot. So welcome so much. Big time realtor in Calgary, father of beautiful twin children. That's a big part of who you are. Married to a lovely lady who's about to deliver her master's thesis tomorrow. Go, Sabrina. Jeez. Good luck. Yeah. So welcome, Kelley. Thank you so much for being here.
You betcha. Thanks for having me.
And I think you are visiting your parents' house.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, we're down in Creston, BC right now. Me and the kids are here visiting my folks, and Sabrina, as you mentioned in the intro, is actually in Spokane. She delivers her master's thesis tomorrow, so hopefully she nails that. Well, not hopefully, I know that she will nail it, and then we'll be done this portion of her journey, and she'll begin the next journey come September. So another 2 years, and we're done.
Which is amazing. And so part of the reason I invited you to join me for Conversation That Matters is because I watched the two of you who are these, power parents who are so involved in your kids' lives while you're doing all of these amazing things in business. And so Sabrina, your wife, has been pursuing higher education. It seems like it's been going on for quite a while.
2 years.
2 years. And then I've watched you take your career. Like we were sort of at the same place about 6-7 years ago. And you've just, completely built it up. And now why don't you kind of share sort of where you are in terms of your business right now?
Okay. So as far as business is concerned, I've got a small team of agents here in Calgary. We've got Paula Carr, Jessica Fox, Agnes Toros, and Rico Colinares just joined us. So there's nice. 5 of us all together. We have our client care coordinator as well as our administrator that looks after all of our paperwork and fills out our trade record sheets for us and makes sure that all of our paperwork is complete and sent in. So there's a total number of people. There's 7 of us. At this point right now, we're on pace to do about 85 to 90 transactions this year, which isn't massive. We're not a super team yet, but we have very ambitious goals as a team to grow by 30% year over year. And it looks like we're probably going to eclipse that this year. Last year, we did 55 transactions. If we get to 85, that puts us at about 40% growth year over year. So part of that has to do with the market. Obviously, the market is very good here in Calgary. Sales are definitely up. A lot of buyers in the marketplace. Prices are also up. Yes. Interest rates are down. But, at the end of the day, I think what is propelling us forward is our overall vision for our team and what it is that we bring to the table for our clients. So
okay, so you just said a word that is one of my favorite words, which is vision. And so this is interesting to me. So how does one create a vision that's specific? And where did that come from?
That came from it. This wasn't something that happened overnight. What happened overnight, it seems now looking back on it, hindsight being what it is I went to a conference last October down in Charleston, South Carolina. It was a Boomtown Unite conference, which fundamentally changed the way that I was going to run my business. Pretty much through 2012 and 2013, I was very focused on the me, as opposed to being focused on the you. And what I mean by that is being focused not only on my clients, but also on my team members. Nice. Making sure that the team revolves around them and not around me, and providing value to those team members, and in terms of training and technology and systemization, and having the administrator look after things, essentially take everything off of their plate so they can do what they're good at, and that's showing clients properties and writing offers. So
absolutely.
So that was the first thing. So I went to this conference in October of last year. I came back from that. I hired a coach through Richard Robbins International.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I interviewed probably 4 different coaching companies. I won't mention them by name, but there were some coaching companies that were very expensive to get set up. Some coaching companies that promised customization of a coaching plan for you, which I found ironic because they also preach systemization.
Yes.
So if they weren't systemizing that part of their business, how could they possibly customize something for me in my business, right? So the reason why I chose my coach and Richard Robbins in particular was simply because I got more value out of that hour and a half long conversation than I got out of all of those other 4 conversations put together. Our free coaching call was only supposed to be a half an hour,
right?
And it turned into an hour and a half.
Right.
And all that she did was listen.
Yep.
And that for me was really powerful. From there, she helped me in creating a team charter.
Yay!
Right. So determining what our future focus is.
Love it.
Determining what our values are. And I put a lot of what I value and what I hold dear in my own life into our team. And so we hold each other accountable by following this team charter and making sure that everyone is not just following it, but they're achieving something within that charter week over week.
Right. Love it. So, even the word charter just has this like power to it. There's something really, I think, inspiring around that. Like the idea that your team has a team charter and gives everyone sort of a clear vision again about where we're going. And then there's probably a lot of buy-in, I'm guessing. If you've taken the time to really define what the team is about, where we're going, then I would imagine that the team members are very clear and they, on some level, they've taken some ownership of the whole team as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. So we currently right now, things are about to change when I get back to Calgary next week. But currently right now we meet 3 times a week. We meet Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We have what we call just a team huddle. Yeah. We huddle for about 15 to 20 minutes. We talk about our challenges. We talk about our wins. If there are issues that they're having within their own business or specific deals, then we try to work through those things collectively. We also talk, like I said, hit on the charter, hit on the future focus, talk about those certain things that are going to drive us through the next few days. And then basically what we do is we get out there, we start prospecting. So everybody kind of breaks up. We stay within the office, but everybody occupies a different space, and we start making phone calls to our database. And, essentially the reason for that is not just to increase business, but I know full well, like I'm not naive enough to think that my agents that are working with me right now are going to be with me forever.
Right.
And so I come at this from a very strong apprenticeship trades type background and a firm belief in this, and that I am there as a team leader to help my agents move forward, not just with the next deal, but also with the next phase of their career.
See,
I know full well that they aren't going to be with me in 5 years. It's just not going to happen. I'm not naive enough to think that. Even though I think I'm a great guy and an awesome team leader, I'm not naive enough to think that they are going to stick around. So what I want to do is make sure that they are armed to the teeth, so that when they do leave my team, that they've got a really good foundation to build off of, and really try to raise the bar within the industry and do it one agent at a time.
Oh gosh, so I absolutely love that, and I think like probably what ends up happening too is you've created this place where agents who graduate out become these like their own superstars. I would imagine that would be pretty good for the Kelley Skar team brand.
Sure it would. I guess we'll have to wait and see how that plays out, seeing as how we've just really created this whole vision, this whole team within the last 8 or 9 months or so.
Right. So now, why don't you, like, there must have been some challenges along the way. This isn't just a cakewalk,
oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, the biggest thing for me was at the end of last year was realizing that I was in this business for myself. Mm-hmm. And once I came to that realization and realized that, and it's funny because I guess I think to a certain extent, most agents are in this business for themselves.
Sure.
And they aren't in the business to service their clients, or if they're a team leader, they're in the business to do 950 or 1,050 transactions.
Right.
When ultimately, they forget about the people that are getting them there. It isn't that singular agent; it's their team.
We tend to be very transactional in this industry.
Sure.
Right. Very outcome focused.
Which is something that we do not advertise. That's something that I've talked to my client or to my agents about at length, and everybody's on Facebook. I'm trying to get everybody onto Twitter. But you will see, if you follow Paula or follow Jessica or follow Rico or follow Agnes, not one of them posts anything about their work. Although all of their followers and their friends and their family know that they're in real estate.
Right.
So we don't post things like, geez, I'm really busy right now. I got 2 offers on the go and I'm out showing and this, that, and the other thing. I look at that in a social space as nobody really gives a shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why, if you and I were sitting in the same coffee shop and we were having a cup of coffee and you were telling me that, Kelley, I just went out and wrote 2 offers this morning. Now I've got to go and show properties. Busy, busy, busy.
Yeah.
What do you think my reaction to that would be? I mean, it's the whole idea of talking about what we have on the go, the transaction-based conversation. The conversation that I'd really like for my agents to have in the social space is how they were able to achieve something, or how they were able to help somebody through something.
Yes.
Right? That's the whole idea of this business, is we are there as advisors. We're not really salespeople. And that's what we're trying to get away from is the sleazy salesperson. I want to be known as more of an advisor than anything else, and helping my clients to achieve ultimately a new property, or the sale of their old property and getting into something new. So
absolutely. And so when you bring in your new team member, like, what is the process that you walk them through to sort of get their head on straight?
Well, I mean, when the interview process is it isn't just me sitting down with them and saying, okay, well, what are your goals, right? I mean, that's definitely part of it. But we have them do a personality test as well. And the whole reason for that is because I want to make sure that they are going to be able to jive with the other members on our team.
Right.
So it's nice for me to be able to sit back right now and see the different personality types that we have based on their color. So there's orange, blue, gold, and green.
Yes.
Okay. The oranges that we have on our team are very people focused, but they're not detail oriented.
Right.
Right. The blue people that we have on our team are very process oriented. Right.
Yeah.
So they're exactly. So they're very the blue people are very process oriented, but they are definitely people oriented. So it's a good mix of the orange and the blue. Right. And but the blues don't necessarily tend to get along with the oranges, or the gold. So it's, because of that fact that the oranges are lax on their paperwork, and the blues are very detail oriented. So they're not going to get along.
I'm guessing you're a blue.
I'm definitely a blue.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So I try to get a good mix of people on the team. Most of the agents that are on our team are relatively new. Like Rico just joined us here last week. He's got about 4 or 5 months in the business. He got licensed in February. Now, this isn't by design. It's, at the end of the day, most people that are in the business for 5 or 6 or 7 years don't really want to join a team because they don't want to give up X amount of their commission.
Right.
Been around the block for too long to actually, want to do that. So taking them through the process, we sit down, we go through the team charter, I go through the contract, I go through the commission splits, all of that stuff. I ask them to fill out the personality test, and then from there we break. They go off, they do their personality test, they get it back to me. I say, listen, read over the charter, read over the splits, read over everything. I want you to be totally clear and have clarity the next time that you call me, because I want you to be asking me questions.
Nice.
And so the next time they call, it's usually we set a meeting, we go in for another coffee, and they have questions. And if I can answer those questions and they feel comfortable moving forward, then we sign a contract. If they don't, then they move on and I move on, and no hard feelings.
Let me ask you this. Do you think there's room in the industry? So like teams, everybody's talking about the power of teams right now. And I've always been a big believer of building teams. But it does seem to be a challenge in terms of how sustainable they can be, how much buy-in there is, because there is this understanding that, someone... But and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think there are certain personality types that never did want to chase the business. They just wanted to be part of something that was going to be more of a secure income situation. And so I do think that there is sort of that model. It's like, and maybe interview for people specifically that are looking for that. Doesn't sound like that's what you've built, but then I'm wondering too, if like sort of like kind of like a good life team model where it's like, well, let's build a company instead of just a team. Let's operate it as if it was actually a company and my agents are my employees. Like do you think that has any merit? Is there any room for that kind of a model?
Sure. I think if it's done right, my dad was a realtor for 25 years and, obviously I'm here with my parents. We had some pretty good discussions around this last night, and we were talking about disruptors in the industry and what the previous brokerage business model was prior to Remax coming onto the scene 30 some odd years ago.
Totally.
They fundamentally changed the way that brokerages do business. Prior to Remax coming in, this is, specifically from my dad. Prior to Remax coming in, the brokerage model was on a split system. Yep. So you join a brokerage and all of a sudden you're getting 70% and the brokerage is getting 30%. But the brokerage is providing you with leads, they're providing you with office space, they're providing you with a telephone, they're providing you with training, they're providing you with signage, they're providing you with business cards. It's a massive amount that they're giving you for the money that you're paying them.
Right.
And when the Remax model came in, it fundamentally changed the way that brokerages are doing business. And so being at the T3 event earlier in April, I had an opportunity to have some really great discussions revolving around this. And it seemed like the big brokers that were on stage, like the Richard Smiths and the Dave Linegers and the other guys from Century 21, and I can't remember all of their names, but they really seemed like the raising of the bar fell on the association level. Yep. And I fundamentally disagree with that. I think that the raising of the bar starts at the brokerage level and maybe going back to what we had before this disruptor came into the marketplace, and giving up a piece of our commission for a massive value add. And so I see that model now within the teams, within that team structure. Yep. And I think that there's a lot of talk in this RE.net space right now about teams, about mega teams, them being like these smaller, almost a brokerage within a brokerage.
Right.
And I think that that's where it's going to start. I'm hoping that as these teams start to evolve and the value that they bring to the table, that the brokers will see, well, Jesus, these guys are really raising the bar because they're training and they're doing all of these other things, providing this and that and the other thing.
Yeah.
Either the broker's going to look at that and say, whew, I don't have to do that now because
that was my question.
John is going to take care of that, or the broker's going to look at that and go, well, geez, you know what? I'm missing out on a massive income stream here, where I could be providing tremendous value to my agents and collecting more of their commission. Yep. Right.
I completely agree. And let's dig deeper into that, because as you know, that's a deep interest of mine, is that what is being provided, particularly, as you know, my heart goes to newer agents who are just licensed. They come in, all starry-eyed, they've got their license and they've got their business cards and they're ready to go. And I think that there is this sort of collective idea about what they think they're going to be getting at whatever brokerage they decide to join. And then they are proceeded to be taught how to, write a contract, or, maybe a little bit of sales training. But really, there is not, as far as I can see, there's very few brokerages that are offering training in how to build a business. Like, so for instance, everything that you've built, I know you've learned through hard work, through study, through conversations like these with people in power who have already, tried and failed and tried and failed. And so I know that you and I both have worked really hard at learning where we've come to today. We've spent the time learning that. So I'm wondering, and Kelley, particularly from your point of view, because you have built it from the ground up, and I think that has a lot of merit. What do you think brokerages should be offering? Because it is and you switched brokerages since I've known you. You've joined CIR in Calgary, and you did that for a very specific reason. What was that?
Yeah. Well, the biggest reason was I sent a proposal into the manager as well as the regional manager for the brokerage. And the proposal was for me to develop training courses on technology and sales training. I would retain proprietary control over the content that I was going to create.
Right.
I was going to create these courses and then implement and start training the agents. The other ideas that I had that I was more than willing to bring in were, things like arming every agent with an iPad. And so how do we do that? Well, let's set up a program where maybe they're offered an iPad when they sign up with us.
Right.
Or maybe they're offered an iPad and it comes off of their next commission check, so they're not actually out of pocket for it.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens from there when they actually get that device? Do we just give them the iPad and say, here you go, play Angry Birds? Or do we actually train them on how to do it, how to operate their business virtually, right?
Yes, absolutely. Which I think is such a vast amount of information. I just had a call.
Tons.
I had a call from a guy yesterday in Costa Rica who is, again, struggling to learn. And he's like, and this is typical. It's like, there's just this state of overwhelm. There's so much for me to learn in terms of systems and tools and all those things that, I mean, really, the brokerage should be, I think, guiding them through that process.
Yeah. The reason why I left was because nobody wanted to look at it. Nobody wanted to entertain the idea of having that training within the brokerage.
Right.
And for me, it was unfortunate for them that they didn't take advantage of what I brought to the table.
Yep.
What I had, struggled to learn over the course of the past 3 or 4 years previous to that. And taking advantage of, and for a nominal fee, and we're not talking huge dollar figure here,
Yep.
Especially for a massive brokerage. And they decided not to go down that route. They decided to completely ignore it. So from that point, I decided, you know what, I'm going to take my career to another level and join a company that has got the same value match as me and the same vision that I do. And quite honestly, that was CIR. They had everything in place that I was trying to bring into that other brokerage.
Yep.
They have the model.
Yep.
They have that business model where they've got managers that don't compete, which again, fundamentally, I completely agree with that. They've got managers that don't compete with you as a sales agent. They've also got a massive amount of training on their virtual office. So videos that are live for you as an agent. They've got in-person training in their classrooms. They put on training at least once or twice a week.
Yep.
On different topics. They have this really great Monday morning meeting where we have 600 agents. Yeah, on average, we have 120 to about 150 realtors. So a quarter of our agents, that's powerful.
Virtually,
right?
online.
Virtually online.
See,
I've actually sold property before they've actually even hit the market to agents that have been in those meetings.
Can't beat
just
it.
by being able to network with them online.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. That's very strong, very progressive. But don't you find, I've always thought too that, the brokerages around here are probably just looking around and saying, well, he's not doing it. He's not doing it. Why would I invest in that yet? Like they're just all reactionary versus let's be proactive and create something with, again, some vision. And, and to cut them a break, like let's do that. Let's cut them a break and look at it from the other angle. I think we've just come through like a difficult, challenging period where a lot of brokerages were losing agents left and right because people were falling out of the industry. They just couldn't swing sticking around. I know the Calgary market's been fairly consistent. We've been fairly strong too, but we definitely did see some turnover. And so, from their point of view, and particularly, if they are selling, not just managing, I think that's a lot to carry. And by the way, they're just people too who are trying to figure it out, I think, so let's cut them a little bit of a break. But where I definitely side with you is, I was in the exact same situation. I was there ready to give it away for free to my brokerage, and they didn't even get it yet. Yeah. They just didn't see it. They didn't, I think they thought I was out there playing and just having way too much fun to be taken seriously. And so it was just missed. And I find that, I'm wondering when do you think they're going to, wake up? Like CIR, clearly progressive, have had strong vision for quite a while. And I think there are pocket companies here and there that do have that. But, overall, industry-wide, particularly in Canada, we're pretty slow up here. What is that, do you think?
I can't place it. I'm been working, I'll just give this one example. I'm working with an agent right now on a listing that we have, and every time she sends me a communication via email and sends me a document back, she sends it in a TIFF file, which I have a hard time. I got to the point where I said to her, go to a Staples, spend 25 cents and use their fax machine. Please. I am like, please do that for me, please. Because I can't handle it. It took me an hour and a half the other night to convert an entire document from a TIFF file into a PDF so I could actually submit it to my office.
Crazy.
So, I mean, I think that there are going to be, there's always going to be in every market, it doesn't matter where you are, there's always going to be a very small percentage of the agents that are the tip of the spear, that are going to be technologically superior to the other agents.
Sure.
And in that, they're going to be able to build their business, build their brand, based on the knowledge that they've been able to obtain. Now, I'm not saying that those agents are any better than the agents that's been around for 20 years that have built a very good, robust referral type business model. But at the end of the day, you know, that agent that has been in the business for 20 some odd years, if they aren't embracing some form of technology, they will be dinosaurs faster than they will actually become dinosaurs.
Right.
You know, so, you know, things such as learning how to use a scanner and scanning it into a PDF. That's something that this agent should have learned 5 to 10 years ago.
Well, just send her the app. Like, you can do JotNot Pro right on your phone now. I mean,
exactly.
Take a picture.
I'm afraid that if I do that, then I'm going to have to spend 3 hours explaining it to her. So that isn't going to happen. As far as the brokerage model, and just going back to that for a second, and when are things going to slowly start to change? I firmly believe this, that so long as the discount brokerage model exists, there will be a place for the agent that is going to do 2 and 3 and 4 transactions a year.
Absolutely.
And until that business model is no longer in existence, I think that we're going to have a heck of a time. It's going to be a very long, slow road where the brokers are going to start raising the bar and providing more value for what they're actually charging the agents.
So this is where it gets interesting for me personally. It's like, so, you know, how are brokerages attracting and retaining agents? Like, what is it that they are doing that they consistently had been doing before? I mean, I feel like, you know, you end up going to brokerage A, B, C, or D that happens to be in your sort of immediate vicinity where you want to do business. I think that's sort of, and so I think at some level, it sort of falls back on the agent. It's like, well, you guys, you have to, but see, it gets tricky because they're new and they're counting on us to show them what to expect.
Sure.
Like here, a new agent comes in and they just go, well, I'll go to Remax, I'll go to Royal LePage, I'll go to CIR in Calgary, I'll try, you know, and whichever one decides to give me the best deal or it sounds the best, then that's where I go and I hang my license. And they really don't have, like, how do we even train people to know what questions to even ask? How do we get brokers to even know what should be offered and delivered to help make them more successful agents?
Well, quite honestly, I think that the brokers need to start talking to some of the team leaders within their marketplace.
Totally.
You know, we're trying to build a really great brokerage here. We want to get some ideas as a team leader within our organization. What is it that you guys are doing to attract agents to your team that we aren't doing to attract agents to our brokerage?
And so what would you say? What would you say to that?
I would say, first of all, you've got to create a charter and create that vision and figure out where it is that you're going with this business, with this brokerage. What value are you going to bring to the agent? And from there, how are you going to help that agent to be successful?
So I love this because don't you think it ties back to, so like if I were a broker and I want to like open a brokerage, I pick my brand, right? Like I decide either Remax or Royal LePage or whatever. And I pick that and it's probably because there's some systems or there's some recognition with the brand. And I'm going to think that's all, it's sort of the same thinking, isn't it? So if I as a broker pick that brand to open, then I'm going to assume that people are going to come to my brand based on whatever my idea of the brand is. So there isn't very much, like there is no personal charter.
So I think the problem is that, again, it goes back to the big box brokerage, right? Yeah. And so, you know, the Remaxes, the Royal LePage, the Century 21s, the Coldwell Bankers, the Prudentials, they all offer their own package to that person, that broker that wants to open a Royal LePage shop.
Right.
Right. And so they say, okay, well, we've got all this great training on the back end. This is your value.
Yeah.
This is what you bring to the table.
Yep.
It's like owning a McDonald's franchise, okay? Yes. And when you go to McDonald's University, they're going to teach you how to make a cheeseburger.
Yes.
And it's not like making a cheeseburger at home, you know, on your barbecue. It's completely different. It's a system.
Yes.
And so it's the same thing with the big brokerages. They've got their own systems in place. And a lot of times they don't want you thinking outside of that box because they say, well, why waste time doing that when we've already packaged it up for you?
Yes.
Even though when you could probably be doing things a whole lot better.
Right.
So I think from that standpoint, the broker has got to be open to the idea of creating their own systems, their own training, and bringing that in-house and hiring the right people to be around them to do that.
Absolutely.
So whether you bring somebody in from the outside to be your professional development manager or whatever you want to call them, and they're going to be solely responsible for training the agents.
Love it.
As opposed to relying, and this happens a lot. I see some of the bigger name brokerages in our city that have, between 50 and 100 agents. It's usually one of the realtors that's acting as a trainer, acting as the tech trainer. And I look at that and I think to myself, well, first of all, you as an agent, you should be out selling houses.
Yes.
You shouldn't be helping to train your competition. Okay.
Right.
Secondly, as a broker, you owe it to that agent to provide them something of value because they are paying your wage.
That's right.
Right. And so this all goes back to where the vision that I have for my team, and the team does not revolve around me. It revolves around the team. Right. And that's the underlying factor, I think, in the brokerage model where it's broken is that the brokers are looking at what can the agents bring for me, not the other way around. What can I bring to the agents?
Agreed.
And if they get around that mindset where they're going to be able to provide something of value, they're like attracts like, right? People are going to be searching out for that type of brokerage where they're going to get a maximum amount of return for the investment that they're putting into the brokerage.
Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. That was so well said. We could go on and on and on this conversation, I know, but we're running low on time because you have an appointment. But there was a couple other things that I thought I'd love to dig into just quickly. One of that is that, you've got these twin kids. And you're a dad, and I know you've developed quite a community around being the dad of twins, haven't you? Yeah.
I love my kids, and I love posting pictures and videos, and they do crazy things. And I think that through social, if people are looking for me online, they're going to see, well, he's got a family. He's a dad.
Yes.
He looks like he's got strong values. I don't know that he does because I haven't been able to speak to him. But if you look a lot of the stuff that I write about and the way that I write and the way that I do video, I obviously do have strong values. And so, I'm hoping at some point that will resonate with somebody to a point where they're going to trust me enough to do a transaction with me.
I was exactly right. And so Michael Thorne and I were just...
just let me quantify that for just a second. I'm not using my kids to build my business, but all I'm saying
back up.
If they do wind up finding me online, they're going to find a lot of pictures and videos and stuff of me posting about my kids because I'm proud of my kids.
It's just who you are, I think, is the bottom line. And the reason I brought that up was because Michael Thorne and I had just been on a panel at ARIA here in Vancouver a couple weeks ago. And one of the questions that was asked was, do you think it's appropriate to, share yourself through your business? And, and one person on the panel was like, I fundamentally think that you should separate personal and professional. And most of us on the panel were like, yeah, no, we fully embrace and expect you to, share who you are. Because here's the thing, you're talking about what you believe and you're talking about, your values. And those are the things that inspire me. And those are the things that attract me, like you say, like to like. They attract me to you because we share values, we share interests. I believe that we share our beliefs and where we're going and the kinds of things that we like to do. And I am a fervent believer that when you share pieces of yourself, particularly when you're vulnerable and you say, hey, these are some of my challenges and these are some of my successes, but this is what matters to me, and really honest and open, that sort of does open the door to trust, which is...
Well, you were talking about storytelling earlier before we got on the call, and when I'm sitting down with a client, a lot of the times I will break down the contract or break down the transaction in such a way where I will describe a type of transaction that happened earlier in my career and tell that story. And, so one of the stories is, when we're talking about the ability or the, if you're not able to close on the property on time, take possession of the property on time, you could wind up getting hit with a levy of some kind by the seller. And so if that happens, that actually happened to me one time in my career, and I'm able to tell a story around that to effectively explain that portion of the contract.
Right.
And I think that if you're separating your personal life from your business life, and everything is always about business, people will start to get turned off from you.
Yep.
Because they're just seeing you being too laser focused on the business and not actually able to crack a smile.
Totally.
And ultimately, we are in the people business. We are there to serve. And if I'm going to be business all the time, I'm not going to be successful, in my opinion. I've got to have a personality of some kind. And I think that that's very important online as well.
Well, we know that you have a personality. There is no problem there. Hey, quick question. At the end of every call, I've been asking my guests and then we've probably covered most of this already, but basically, bottom line, this is your legacy. It's your life. What's meaningful to you. You look back, you're on your deathbed, and you look back over your life and you say, hey, this is my legacy that I left. What do you want?
One of my favorite quotes is from Gary Vee, and you know that I'm a big Gary Vee fan.
Yes.
And his quote is, "Legacy is the new currency," and I love that. I think it's everything that he's doing is so that his grandkids can look back on the YouTube and see crazy great grandpa Gary Vee on TV or on the computer or whatever, right?
Absolutely.
And so, part of the legacy that I want to leave my kids is that I want them to know that in business, it isn't always cutthroat. You have to be fair to be successful. The nice guy doesn't always finish last. In fact, I think that the nice guy 9 times out of 10 usually finishes first. And whether that's in a business sense or in a home sense, I think that rings true.
Love it.
So that would be the first thing. And the second thing is, be true to yourself and make sure that you listen to your heart and know, if you've got that gut feeling to do an end around, take that gut feeling. And if you fail, pick yourself up and keep moving forward.
Oh, love it. I love it. That's so good. So good. Before we let you go, I want you to let your mother know that we are very confident that she must be quite the cook or baker, because I see a lot of pots and pans.
Thought I had that.
So next time we're at Creston, we'll be dropping in for a meal.
Oh, definitely do that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kelley, for taking the time. I think you dropped 1,000 gold nuggets. I'll be definitely re-listening to this one a few times. This is why I do this, because when I've had so many good conversations with so many great people in this space that it's like, oh, I just wish I'd captured that. I wish I'd recorded that. They're so good. And now I am.
Yeah, there you go.
So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Please wish Sabrina all the best tomorrow. And by the time this is seen, she will have long since scored points and earned her master's and be off conquering the world. So good for her.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Very welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.